Good morning. This is X-Pulse AI Morning Mix. It's Tuesday, April 14th. Today, OpenAI's $852 billion valuation gets questioned. Meta reportedly builds an AI Mark Zuckerberg for employees and a push to cap liability for large-scale AI harms. I've got Orion with me. Ready?
Ready. Let's get into it.
We'll start with the money. What's happening with OpenAI's valuation?
The Financial Times, via Reuters, reported on April 14th that some OpenAI investors are questioning its $852 billion private valuation. The concern is whether that price still fits OpenAI's strategy shift toward enterprise customers and the near-term revenue that comes with it.
Is this normal investor grumbling or something more?
It can be both, but the timing matters. When a company pivots toward enterprise, deals get bigger, but sales cycles get slower and churn looks different. If investors expected consumer-scale growth curves, they'll pressure expectations, especially with competition from Anthropic and others tightening the market.
Does that change an IPO timeline realistically?
It can. Scrutiny like this can cool secondary market pricing and make an IPO harder to price cleanly, or it can force a clearer story: durable enterprise revenue, margins, and retention. $852 billion is not a trust me number. It's a show me number.
Over at Meta, there's a story that sounds like science fiction office hours. What's the report?
The Irish Times reported on April 13th that Meta is developing an AI character modeled on Mark Zuckerberg to interact with employees. The report also says Meta launched Muse Spark, a small, closed-purpose internal model with capabilities including visual understanding and health reasoning for product work.
An AI Zuck for employees. What would they even use that for?
Think internal Q&A, policy interpretation, product decision support, and maybe a standardized executive voice for common questions. It can reduce leadership bottlenecks, but it also raises obvious concerns: who approves the answers, how it's audited, and whether it quietly becomes a performance management instrument.
The report mentioned staff anxiety about job cuts. What's the link?
It said product managers are being invited to a skills baseline exercise tied to this broader push, and some staff worry that kind of mapping can precede restructuring. Meta says participation is voluntary, and yes, my boss's boss as a bot is a new kind of meeting invite.
Now to policy. OpenAI is backing a U.S. bill on liability. What's in it?
Money Control reported on April 14th that OpenAI publicly supported proposed U.S. legislation that would limit liability for certain large-scale AI harms, described as mass deaths and other catastrophic outcomes. OpenAI framed it as a balanced way to manage advanced AI risk while avoiding a patchwork of state rules.
Why would a developer put limits like this?
Because legal exposure is becoming a product constraint. If developers think a single high-profile incident can create open-ended liability, they'll either slow deployment or build defensive compliance layers. A federal standard can create clarity, but critics will say it also reduces accountability when things go wrong.
What's the big question lawmakers have to answer?
Where responsibility sits across the chain: model maker, app builder, deployer, and the data owner. If liability gets capped too broadly, you invite reckless deployment. If it's too strict, you freeze innovation. The hard part is writing rules that punish negligence without punishing existence.
Let's talk adoption. What are CFOs planning on AI spend?
Bain and Company, in a PR Newswire release on April 13th, said 42% of surveyed CFOs plan to increase AI investment by more than 30% within 2 years. And 83% expect to raise enterprise-wide AI spending, with many finance teams already increasing AI budgets this year.
What does that signal beyond AI is popular?
CFO intent matters because it's where pilots either become programs or die. This suggests AI is moving from discretionary innovation to planned capital allocation. The next bottleneck won't be should we, it'll be governance, data access, and proving cost out or revenue lift at scale.
Where do you expect that money to land first?
In finance, you'll see forecasting, close automation, audit support, and procurement analytics. Enterprise-wide, it's usually customer support, sales enablement, and internal copilots. The winners will be teams that connect models to clean data and workflows, not just buy another chat window.
Let's sweep through the rest, starting with connecting AI to data. What's this MCP chatter?
Family Wealth Report summarized a fintech forum on April 13th claiming OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, Amazon Web Services, and Anthropic have adopted MCP as a common protocol for connecting AI to data. If real and widely implemented, it's an interoperability layer that could speed enterprise integrations, less custom plumbing.
On hardware, NVIDIA says it used an internal model for chip design work.
Yes, video cards covered comments from NVIDIA's Bill Daly on April 13th. NVIDIA trained an internal large language model on decades of GPU design data and says it sped tasks across design exploration and verification, one example dropping from about 80 person months to close to overnight on a single GPU.
And a few governance and workforce notes. What should people know?
Axios reported April 13th on an OpenAI internal memo describing sharper competition talk and partner tensions. NextGov reported April 13th that the Government Accountability Office says agencies aren't sharing lessons from AI buys. Meanwhile, states weigh companion chatbot limits for minors and hiring screen disclosure, the State News and Middletown Press, both April 12th. Plus, the Economic Times says AI is driving senior tech hiring in India, and Mundak says Canada's finance regulators are focusing on operationalizing responsible AI, both pointing to boring governance becoming the main event.
That's XPulse AI Morning Mix from XPulse for Tuesday, April 14th. Share it with someone who'd find it useful. See you next time.